Welcome to the Mandcave, the only podcast hosted by two best friends with nothing in common except their names and their menopause stories. I'm Mandy Kaplan.
I'm Mandy Fabian, and God help me, I hope I remember the intro. Every week we share stories and fight over movies, books, television, and our biological functions. I forgot. I actually did. I made a joke about forgetting, and then I forgot. So welcome to it. But I got close enough. Grab a couch. Let's get to it.
Perfect.
Wait a minute, cut this shit.
We sacrifice our friendship.
Test
I'm
the
losing my
limits of
mind.
our friendship by arguing over.
I think we haven't we?
Yeah.
Isn't she just a free-flowing enigma now? Like she's just free
Our friendship?
of constraints. I mean, we've tested the limits. There are no more limits.
I like that you're anthropomorphizing our friendship because I just wanted to use that word. So I did.
Hot shit. I feel like that was really good. Do you have a word of the day app?
You went to London and I got smarter. That's what I tried to do.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Not easily done. I definitely got smarter in London.
Yes.
But now I'm in the US, so it's back.
Yeah.
And all I want to do is ban abortions.
Okay. Let's do that.
So, later today, I was thinking after the podcast, I want to do books first, from 1 to 2, banning books, and then 2 to 3, I was going to do abortions.
And I am just going to yes and we'll do it. So to update all the Fandys out there, we were in London together for a blissful 5 days. It was wonderful.
That was so magical.
Yeah.
It was so great. British Mandys are great, don't you think?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
And we took our kids to see Book of Mormon, which is wildly inappropriate. And the lovely Delilah halfway through said, "What's a scrotum?" So it's...
she also didn't understand the joke about why she had a wet spot on her dress. So there were some fun conversations to be had.
Yes, you're welcome. It was one of the rare times that I think I've been a terrible influence on you because you and Patrick wisely said, our kids aren't ready yet. Book of Mormon is too mature. We're holding off. And we said, oh, come on. And you said, okay. That's how that debate went.
We were the worst parents ever. We did the thing that no parents should do. Like, oh, well, if Sally's parents are going, I guess it's okay. Yeah. But it was you guys and your family. And I was secretly delighted.
Yes.
And then we all had so much fun. And my kids have now been playing the Book of Mormon and singing the Book of Mormon. Last night at the dinner table, we had one of their friends over for dinner. And we all sang one of the songs. I don't even remember. Oh, it was the Turn It Off. We all sang it together, and did the dance break by pounding on the table.
Great.
I mean, it has really been a source of joy. And we accomplished a dream of mine, I was so grateful we were able to make this happen.
What did we
We
do?
went to the Ivy and had a glass of champagne.
We did. And good fish and chips.
Really good fish and chips. It was so fun it made me feel like we were in our 30s again and hanging out and having a glass of champagne in the middle of the day like naughty, sexy birds. Yes. It was great.
It really was. The whole trip was magical and I wish you all could have been there, Fandys, but
So and on that note, we are offering a Costa Rican retreat with the Mandys. So look for that on your calendar.
$5 a month gets you extra access to us and a Costa Rican retreat. Go to mancave.com/Fandy.
Retreat goers have to pay $10 a month, but that was a really good plug.
Thank you. I slipped it in there. That's what he said. Okay.
Hey-o.
So, meanwhile, Casey
Speaking of plugs,
has been making That's What She Said jokes a lot. And I want to tell him, stop it. That's inappropriate, but he's good at it. So I'm so proud. When he does it, I'm like, oh, I hadn't thought of it. That was good. You did it.
And that's, he's old enough. Sex now is going to be part of their lives. It's all right that he makes sex jokes. Oh, no, that's the normal thing. What you don't want him to do is make rapey jokes. Like the way that my daughters are now singing about raping a baby.
Yes.
So
Yes.
That's Book of Mormon. That's not me. That's not our family doctrine, everybody. In case you haven't seen the show Book of Mormon, I did not personally just bring up raping a baby because I think it's hilarious.
Well, while we're talking about fucked up kids,
what a great transition. Oh my God.
Everybody
That made me tinkle all over. Best transition ever. You're on fire.
I'm back. So, okay. We pivoted a bunch because of your stupidity. And, and then I begged you to watch a documentary on Netflix called The Program. And maybe Pete play a trailer.
What do you do if your child gets caught in a cycle of self-destructive or even dangerous behavior? Some desperate parents are having their children abducted, taken against their will to a behavior modification program.
The reality is torture of children.
I got here at 3 a.m. and they said I was not allowed to talk anymore and you can never leave.
They were being treated like prisoners.
I had never done drugs in my entire life, but in order for me to graduate, I had to confess to using heroin, crack, cocaine, LSD.
They dehumanize the kids, that these kids are liars and manipulators. They use that to create compliance.
It's hard to comply with something that you know is wrong.
We have these handwritten, signed and dated confessions of abuse.
Whoa, oh my God. They use physiological experiences to manipulate the mind.
It's meant to break you. Palms up, palms down.
It is literal brainwashing.
You are at fault. You are to blame.
Palms together, palms apart. The people that the program most wants to influence is the parents. It was basically a cult.
And we're talking worldwide.
It's $1 billion industry.
It all went into this.
And it was just to make this guy rich.
It is human trafficking of children.
All these kids being robbed of normal childhoods, it's all still operating.
Now that you've heard the trailer, we don't have to rehash. Hopefully you got it. Basically, a quote, school for wayward kids that parents send. It's a last chance high and parents send their kids there. They don't just enroll them. They pay to have their kids kidnapped, put in handcuffs by teen transporters. I hope you can hear the air quotes. Thrown in a van and taken to this den of abuse and horror.
Yes.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
Well, you say that, but what I noticed when I was watching how these kids get taken, where they get taken, I was like, okay, getting abducted and then taken to a private school in upstate New York actually sounds like my dream date.
Oh, good to know.
Like I'd love to go back to college. I'd love to wear a uniform. And upstate New York is like one of my favorite places in the world.
Yes.
Like I just love it there. So for me, it would be like I would be living my full potential. But then the program went on and then I was like, oh, now I see that these children are not just whining.
Right. They're not allowed to look out the window or talk.
Oh my God.
Or
look at each other.
Yes. I mean, it is so appalling. But as the promo video said, it's nestled in the woods, only 10 hours from major cities like Philadelphia and New Jersey and New York. And I was like, nestled in the woods means they have these kids where they can't escape. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love the only 10 hours from a major city.
Right.
That feels substantial.
Yes.
I don't know the last time I was like, you want to just pop over? It's 10 hours.
Right.
Yeah. That was definitely, and then I was kind of impressed, like when the girl was talking about, like, she had to do her punishment. There was that one girl, Diane, who would not be broken, right? And she was punished by, she had to be on her stomach on the floor with her hands behind her back and her feet up and her chin on the floor. And they had to stay in that position for like hours or they would get these corrections. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I could use that. I could use a nice workout plan.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's another
Those are like
part of the program.
When you lay on the floor and you lift your, right?
Yeah. Which I haven't done in 25 years. But the corrections were, so if they did any of these things, if they looked out the window, if they accidentally bumped into something or tripped or something happened that was funny and they laughed, they were given a correction. If they laughed out loud.
I know.
Like it was so crazy. And you kind of, I think that the documentary is really well done. I think that I like the footage that they use. The girls like this, the main girl.
Catherine Kubler. is her name. She is a documentary maker. Took 10 years to get this together for her. And it was done with the purpose of taking down this institution. So there's a real drive behind this. It's not just, well, hey, did you guys know there are these programs out there? She's like on a mission, and I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
I loved her mission.
Did too. But so I only got through 2 episodes.
Oh, Mandy.
I know there's more, but...
One more.
What? Oh, there's only one more.
Well, I'm going to spoil something for you because...
Oh, that's okay. You can spoil it, and I'll tell you it's so compelling I would watch it anyway.
Yeah, you have to.
And also, as we referenced in the menopause, I won't remember what you just said.
Right. Well, now I'm thinking maybe I shouldn't spoil it. Because if people want to go watch it, I want them to have the experience. So this is what I'll say. I'll tease it. And then when we record next week, we can talk about it. There is a moment in the 3rd episode that to me is tantamount to the Jinx moment when he's like, of course I killed them. I killed them all. And he said it on camera, accidentally on a hot mic.
Wait, are you talking about the best moment in television in the history of television?
Yes, on the Jinx.
Aside from the time when Howard Hamlin got killed on Better Call Saul. Oh, I just spoiled that.
May he rest in
anyway.
peace. So to me, that Jinx moment is hands down the best moment in television history. And I said tantamount. It's maybe 3rd or 4th, but there's a moment in the 3rd episode when I was like, because of Catherine Kubler, and I love her so much. So
really?
Yeah. Just enjoy, everybody.
But here's my question. You say that she's taking this institution down, but they're in an abandoned school from episode 1. Like that school doesn't exist anymore.
Correct. So she follows the trail of money and corruption all the way to the top. And now she's after the person. There's an organization called WASP, as if you needed to give it a more supervillain Marvel name.
Right?
This organization,
Isn't that
WASP.
Crazy?
I can probably tell you what the acronym stands for, but I don't want to be distracted.
Witchy asshole suckfest pudding.
Pudding. The founder of WASP. Yeah, I didn't write the thing, but the guy at the top, whose name I also didn't write
cares?
down.
Let's not name him. He's like Voldemort. Let's call him Voldemort.
Okay, Voldemort worked at an adolescent hospital and funneled patients into his first school called Cross Creek, which was his testing ground so that then he could open up more of these schools. So he took vulnerable parents and families and capitalized on their pain and vulnerability, brought them to an abusive situation. And then the key is they curate what the parents see. They send these parents to these seminars and they show them only snippets of videos and pictures of their kids pretending to be happy and thriving and sitting at computers and on the lacrosse field. And the parents are thinking, look at my kid turning around, right?
Yep.
And some of these kids were very, very troubled. I'm assuming legal troubles, on drugs, depression, getting into fights, like lots of things going on in their lives where a parent might be desperate to fix that.
Yeah.
Catherine Kubler drank a Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Yeah.
And had an evil stepmother.
Evil stepmother.
But Catherine Kubler,
God.
not a troubled, wayward teen who was, where this would be maybe the last resort.
She was drinking and smoking like a normal teenager does, right? Like, there were quite a few kids actually that we meet in the documentary that were like, my parents just sent me because my brother went to this other school and they liked it. So they sent me and my other brother to this school. She had no behavior issues.
Yep.
And it was really, that was really the crazy part of it.
I know. So the actual title of this documentary is The Program, Cons, Cults, and Kidnapping. So cults, it's our favorite.
It's a very favorite. I love this guy who ran WASP too. And it's that kind of guy that makes me feel lazy. Like, what an opportunity.
Right.
I wish I was the kind of person that saw an opportunity like that and would take the initiative to actually build. How many times have I had this idea? And he went and did it.
Good for him. Voldemort.
Yeah. Voldemort, yeah.
He, the culty part is something you started to hint at. There's a language, like corrections and
he also
consequence for off task, a major mischief. Then they have a points and levels system. to define where you are in the program and what privileges you get. Privileges like being able to talk.
Yeah.
It's
although you have to get so far up, and every time you get demerits and you lose points, because the whole idea of graduating is that if you get to the 4th or 5th level, then you could maybe go home, maybe go back to your parents. I mean, it's all this weird tease with like getting them home again. They're in the most miserable prison, and their parents are the key to letting them out. And so they have to do this weird behavior thing to try to prove that they're okay. But the demands that they have to prove are so outrageous for a human being. Like, you can't do this unless you're a mindless zombie, right? There's no way.
You have to be brainwashed and go with the program, or pretend you're brainwashed and are going with the program to get out.
Yeah.
And the parents are reading letters from their kids that are full of absolute bullshit about things are great at school. I'm making friends. I'm trying hard, because they were being watched and monitored. They couldn't freely say they're abusing us here.
Well, this is my question, because this was the one thing about the documentary that was actually confusing to me, because there's a lot of Catherine's letters where she says, I hate it here. I can't, she's talking about what a miserable time she's having. And I didn't understand that, because I thought she wouldn't have been able to write that unless she wrote it and then got a correction. But I also thought, I don't think the school, they obviously were reading all their letters. Right? So how did that letter get written? How were those words on a page that we were later able to see in a doc?
So part of the seminars is to teach parents your kids lie. Kids like this lie all the time. You can't believe them. You need to trust us and trust the program and look at the proof. You're seeing your kids happy and thriving, and so they were coming at it from all angles. But in the 3rd episode, Catherine and her dad have a reckoning. That's not in the 2nd, right? It's more in the 3rd.
No, but they're on their way, because in the beginning of the 2nd episode, she's talking about how she doesn't talk to her dad anymore, and then towards the end, because in the 2nd episode is really when they unpack the parental part of it all, and how parents are fed a line of bullshit and they're brainwashed. Oh, the really chilling thing was that the parents have to sign a letter of commitment, of finishing. It's all about finishing the program, right? So they get into these parents' heads that say, we can fix your problem, but you're not allowed to pull out for any reason, right? The thing you can't do is leave. So we're not even going to try to fix your problem unless you commit to this 100%.
A billion-year contract like the Sea Org. Right?
Wait, what?
A billion-year contract like the Sea Org in Scientology.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. They bug them and bug them and bug them until they sign that contract. And then that's the thing that I thought about that. I was like, wow, that would fuck with my head so much. If one thing, if I send the kids to a school and it doesn't work out great, like this school actually sounded a lot like the one they were in London. And, but my kids don't complain. So that's great. No, but if I send my kids to school and it's not working out, even just because it's just school, right? I might be a little suspicious of are the teachers really that? And are the kids really that?
Sure.
And maybe I would try to work with the school to but I'm not going to yank them and say, this is a nightmare. I'm going to think that my kids are having a normal bumpy time at school.
What kid hasn't said, my history teacher has it out for me. They hate me no matter what I do, right? And you're like, well, they don't have a voodoo doll of you, kid. They're just a teacher, and
Yeah, I mean, so it's interesting, just normal school, you sort of do defer to what the teachers are saying, what the administrators are saying, because it's an institution and you went through it, and there's this weird sort of it all feels very normal. So then on top of that, to have this high stress of anxiety, my kids doing drugs, and especially because a lot of these people are right-wing Christians, right? They're people that have been very repressed and very there's a certain way to behave or you're going to go to hell. So if their kid starts acting out and they have absolutely no emotional tools except the fiery pits of hell to ever deal with it, then they're terrified and they're sending their kids there. And then on top of that, they're like, but you have to commit 100%. That letter to me was really the thing of I think it would make me doubt all of my instincts, because I would go, yeah, but they said I can't leave.
Right.
I mean, it's so fascinating to me.
It's insidious. The worst part, I mean, aside from all the physical abuse and the emotional and mental abuse and the torment these kids went through. They're not allowed to fart without permission.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
I would fail so fast at that school.
Yeah. There's no way.
Yeah.
They would have had to give you your own separate dorm room just to manage that.
Well, it is. This documentary was possible because apparently when the school was shut down, they just left it. They just left in the middle of the night. So Catherine and a bunch of other survivors go and they have footage, they have files, they have names and addresses of all the staff. I mean, they really have a treasure trove of material to work with here. And
they really do.
And they actually accidentally bump into one of the staff.
Sissy?
Yeah. Is that the one at the diner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sissy. Yep.
Who?
Oh, man.
It was very frustrating watching the film because Catherine approaches her. She's like, oh, yeah, I did used to work there. Yeah, some of that stuff we did was not okay. And then they get kicked out of the diner for filming.
Yep.
And we don't go back to Sissy. So we don't know how the staff is justifying their actions. A lot of it is, I think this documentary is so fascinating. They moved to this remote place. The town was indigent. They hired all the people. They provided jobs and security for this town. Why would anybody want to mess with that? So yeah, I have to smack some kids around. And yeah, I have to starve some kids. But the program is working. And I'm just following the rules. It's not, I didn't come up with the program. So they can deflect blame for participating in this ritual abuse.
There are two things that I thought, based on what you're saying. First of all, in the second episode, they actually do get a guy on the phone. The guy who, I forget her name. It's not Kendra, but it doesn't matter. One of the girls, the big head honcho, who's sort of the poster child for the school. When she gets in, she takes a pregnancy test and a drug test, and both are negative. But somehow, the person who reads her results tells her parents that she was positive for drugs, riddled with drugs. They make her buy into this narrative that she somehow, because she would get punished if she didn't confess, because they're like, you did drugs. She had never done drugs in her life. But because they were trying to force this narrative on her and get a confession, and she was lying if she said she didn't do drugs, she started lying.
Yeah.
And she made up a whole story about how many drugs she did and how terrible she was. And that she did this for years just to go along, because when she told the truth, they were like, you're lying.
Right.
So she finds her results that says negative, capital letters, her drug test results, and she sends it to the guy who, or a woman, I don't know who it was, but who did this, who basically falsified her results, and has a whole conversation. And he is like, it's a really interesting conversation, because he's like, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. You're trying to hold me accountable for everything this whole thing did. And she's like, no, it wasn't just you. It was a lot of people. But he couldn't take his responsibility for it. Like he starts to, and then he's like, I'm driving. I got to go. I'm going to spill coffee. I need to focus on driving, because you could tell he's really upset about what happened, and he feels bad, and he loved the kids. But can you imagine? I mean, I get it, because I'm a follower. I'm a follower in ways I fucking hate. I will go along with things. Maybe it's because growing up in Texas, there was a certain survival in like, just shut up and go along,
That's why you continue to do this podcast. It's why you've stayed in this friendship.
Help. Blink twice if you need help. I know. No, but like there is a certain kind of, there's a certain, I get when you do things because of peer pressure, because other people have done it before you, and then you look back and you go, oh my God, how was I capable of that?
Yeah.
And everybody, I mean, that was really fascinating. So that's the one thing that they do talk to a staff member who's really like, and then the other thing that Sissy said, well, she talks about gay kids, but that never gets unpacked. That she's about to say, well, I had certain feelings about some of them gay kids.
Right.
And then it goes dark. There was another point though that I was going to say, I'll get to it.
Okay.
Later.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much in this 3-episode documentary series. I, in fact, wish it were 10 episodes. I could have, there are so many angles. The parents paid $76,000 for 15 months at this school, but the staff was being underpaid, below minimum wage. So all the money was just being funneled to Voldemort. and Voldemort's brother, who's heavily featured in the 3rd episode, it was just a money-making scheme. There was never the intention to help children.
Well, there's the other thing. I just remembered the other point, which was, did you see when they cover it because the kids do a riot, actually. They end up collectively saying, fuck this, and planning a revolt. And when you see, you're on the inside, hearing this kid, seeing him cry from his trauma and how horribly he was treated, and then he's sort of reenacting the riot and he's feeling himself again. He tries to plan this riot and he thinks all the kids are behind him and they've all pivoted to the cafeteria because they're starving.
Right.
And they finally get to go get some food.
Right.
So that the plan didn't quite work because they were like, fuck this, I got to eat. But the media coverage of that riot was really interesting.
Right.
The whole coverage of the school is interesting because it plays on a real fear that we have. I think as a society, there's a certain kids, all those new ideas, all that change, that rock and roll.
Right.
That,
bad kids too. I mean, these are liars and manipulators and druggies.
Yes.
And you don't listen to them.
Yeah. And every time they show footage of the school, it really is as they are solving the problem that we all have, which is these uppity kids who think they know better and who are dangerous and who need to be broken.
Right.
It's a really kind of bigger mirror of there's something, they feed into something that's already a fear, like racism and sexism and ageism and all the isms. I don't even know what you'd call that ism, but there's,
Yeah.
That's what I thought was really interesting is I was like, oh, if I was just a lower middle class, upper New York State resident watching that, I would go, oh, those kids, those troubled kids are assaulting staff.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing that gets covered.
If it were a prison riot, we would not side with the prisoners. And that's what this was.
Right.
We would not say, good for those prisoners for standing up for their rights and rioting, right? We don't say that. We go, oh shit, those guards are in trouble. And what if they get hurt? And this is terrible. Those prisoners are rioting. That's what they have set up, that mentality. And it's devastating because all kids deserve a second chance and a third chance. And some of them needed real help. Some of them were very troubled, wayward kids who needed therapy they weren't getting, who needed medication they couldn't get. They needed help and they were getting zero help.
No, they were treated
to just keep them as prisoners.
And they're literal prisoners. Yes. The kid who led the riot got arrested and taken to jail. And the woman, Catherine, asks him, what was jail like? And he was like a 5-star Hilton.
Yep.
Jail was freedom compared to the school.
I know.
Isn't that? And
awful.
It's so funny. You think about a very strict school. I was raised Catholic. I heard about the nuns. There's terrible shit that goes on in Southern schools. I remember my 7th grade science teacher had a paddle with holes in it. Corporal punishment was very much okay in Texas. And the teachers used to hit kids and stuff. And that was just part of it. Because they'd get hit at home, they're going to get hit at school.
Oof.
But that wasn't that was a part of what was going on culturally in that small town, and everybody knew about it. And it was, but this, the way that they would take personal things about these kids, the fact that this girl, her mother dies right before her 2nd birthday. And they use that in there's seminars, they're called seminars.
For the parents.
That happen. Well, there's seminars for the parents, but I think it was called seminars for the kids. Every 6 weeks, they do these things that are complete behavior modification. And for hours and hours and hours, they torture you. So they wrap a towel in duct tape and they have them beating the floor with these things. And they do this for a long period of time. And they say, yell at your mother. Tell her how mad you are for abandoning you as a child. Express to your mother how angry you are. Get it out. And she's like, I'm not angry with my mother. She died of cancer. She didn't abandon me. She died. Right? But she's 16 years old, beating the floor, and they're being made to do this.
Right.
And do you remember the palms up, palms down, palms in, palms out, palms up? So they do this ritual, and they have to do it for 8 hours. They do it for a minute in the documentary, and you're like, whoa, that's enough, ladies.
Yes.
And then they express that they did it for 8 hours.
I know. It's absolute torment. It's Guantanamo Bay shit. And
yeah.
And then, so you go through the program, you get to your senior year, you graduate.
You get to be head cheerleader.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You graduate, you get out. Hey, surprise, it's not an accredited school and your degree means nothing.
Okay, I hadn't gotten there yet.
Oh, that's good times.
What?
Yep.
Oh.
Ivy Ridge has no credentials.
So they can't go to college? Not that
they would have to get a GED.
Go to college.
They would have to do something else.
Well, that's the other brilliant stroke that made me feel like a shitty entrepreneur. Because they basically take all this money for an education and then they put them all on online school.
Right. Yeah.
It's homeschool.
Right.
Like a computer thing, there are no teachers.
According to them. They're barely learning. They're barely doing anything. Yeah.
No, because they don't get any help and they get no instruction. They're made to sit and stare at a computer, which, genius. Like, once again, I'm thinking maybe I'm going to start a drama camp for kids and just show them movies.
That's most camps. That's rainy day at most camps.
Obviously, you and I will do live numbers, obviously.
Well, yeah, but that's
the rest
just
of the time I
for
can
our own enjoyment.
It's right.
They have all of these idioms that most programs have. Some programs are very helpful. Alcoholics Anonymous, what do they say? Work the program.
Yeah, it works if you work it.
They said that in this documentary. So they are savvy about pulling things that you're like, yes, I've heard that before. That's what my pastor said. That's what my therapist says. Yes, this is going to work for my kid. And they just pounce on the vulnerable parents and families and kids. And it's heartbreaking. But filmmaking wise, I thought she did an excellent job. I like the way she lets the information out. I like the way she develops characters. I cannot recommend this documentary series on Netflix highly enough. I'm ready to say it. I'm giving it 1,000 man jobs. I said
it sounded dirty when you said it.
Well, it should.
Yeah. No, it's very depressing. Listen, if you're not in a good mood, maybe don't watch it, or maybe do, because you can watch it and go, my life is great.
Right. It is. It is riveting. It's hard to watch. I'm not.
Oh no. What's really sad about it is you see this woman who is clearly in so much pain. She has such a good sense of humor and such a light about her, and she's so playful with this whole thing and funny.
Yep.
And yet she's so sad, and she was abused so terribly. Yes. And you see all this footage because she always had a camera in her hand when she was a kid. So you see all this footage of her as a kid and you're like, oh my God, she is so goofy and sweet and wonderful.
And talented.
And who the hell? How sad. And I get this because, I get it. How did her dad get brainwashed by her stepmom? That's the thing that's really just so sad. He was a good dad. He had 3 daughters. And then he gets this stepmom and she decides. But again, that's that whole thing. Like what they present to the parents, desperate parents,
it's a gift.
They don't. Yep. Yeah.
We can help.
And they say if your kid complains, they're lying. And there's no way, in a weird way, there's just not a way for the parents to really know what's true. Even now, that one girl who had the drug test lied about, even now with the results in her hand saying, I never did drugs. They lied about it. The parents still won't believe her. They are still to this day taking the side of the school.
Well, that's interesting because, in my true crime listening, I hear a lot about false confessions, which is very, very, very common with young people. So we know you had something to do with it. Just tell us and we'll let you go home. Just tell us what you did. And you want to go see your parents again? Just tell us what you did. And they beat kids and teens and sometimes young adults and adults into false confessions. And I think we've talked about this on the podcast. I won't dwell, but I always listen to that and go, I would never confess, right? I would never, I would be stronger than that. But when you are hopeless and alone and scared and vulnerable and you are told this is your only way out, just say you did it. And then we'll let it go. Say you did it, right?
Yeah, especially if I'm having to do that super band thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? My chin's on that floor 20 minutes before I'm confessing to whatever you want. I can't sustain that.
No, I know. I can't eat cheese in that position. So I would be out. So is it a 5-man job for you as well?
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Are we
it's great.
back
it's
in our
great.
new season or whatever we're calling this with an agreed, highly recommend?
Yes. Yeah. No, it's really good. I think it's really well made, and I like documentaries a lot. I think it's my favorite thing to watch.
Yes. I can't wait. Assign me something that we'll disagree about for next week so we can get back on track, because this feels weird, right? Something feels off
I don't
in the
know.
universe.
Maybe we're both British now, and we both agree that cheese we had in Europe is unparalleled.
Oh, God, I can't with the cheese. And the dates.
Yes.
Fandies, I need your help. I got these dates in Paris that were not fully dehydrated. They were still
Pierre and
forgive me, they were moist. They dripped like date honey out of them when I bit into them. And I can't find them anywhere here. So if anybody says
that's what she said.
Right? I'm gonna I'll pay if it's a gold belly situation. Help me find these dates.
Okay.
I need them in my life.
Okay.
So
great. Done.
I do have a game because I remembered how this worked. We know this school was designed for troubled teens who are misbehaving, which of course reminds me of me. And I am going to tell you some things I may or may not have done in high school. And you're going to say whether they are true or false. Are you ready?
Oh my God. It's so amazing to me that you did half the stuff you did. Like, I still am like, you what? I was such a good girl. I think I really was I think I'm still a good girl.
Yes, but by our personalities on paper, I think people would reverse that. They would think, Fabian was such a badass. She probably, got in a ton of trouble growing up, and Kaplan's such a goody-goody.
Well, I became a rock star. I mean, it's a natural assumption. Yeah.
And I was a goody-goody, relatively speaking, but I did some stuff. So you tell me if I did it or if I didn't do it.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Junior year, I wrote prick on Chris Smith's locker in Sharpie when he wronged my friend.
Interesting. I would totally think that you would do that, especially if he was a homophobe of any kind. If it had anything to do with homophobia, you absolutely would have done that and called the principal over, pointed out that you wrote prick, and explained exactly why you wrote the word prick on his locker. That's what I think.
That is something pretty much from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But I did it.
So you had modeled the behavior. I did a lot of stuff that I saw in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Side note, I taught a bunch of what am I, in 5th grade, maybe 4th grade?
Oh, I know where we're going. There are carrots involved in this story. Or
no, a
pudding pops.
fudgesicle.
Yeah, pudding.
Yeah, a pudding pop. I was like, hey, look what I learned in this movie, girls. Blah, 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 blah. Not even knowing what I was showing them.
Yep.
But I was like, apparently this is called a blowjob.
I can't wait till your principal calls you today and says, so your girls have been talking about raping babies in school. I'll take credit. I'll go to the meeting.
And I'll say, do you guys serve pudding pops at your school?
Right. My girls have other things to teach.
Yeah.
Okay. When my mom went to an out-of-town wedding, I threw a massive house party.
That doesn't seem like you.
That wasn't me. Damn it.
You would have snuggled up and you would have gone to the store and gotten marshmallows and graham crackers and chocolate, and you would have maybe had a friend and you guys would have watched Singing in the Rain all night.
Yeah,
you wouldn't have thrown a
much
massive house party. Maybe you would have had a little a sake. You know what I mean? You wouldn't have had, I don't think you would have had a massive house party.
So a friend did that. And the friend called me. Very side note, quick story. Called me drunk, hungover the next morning. The house is destroyed. You got to help me. My parents are coming home later. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I went in there like Harvey Keitel, the fixer. And I was like, you wake up, wipe down that wall. You get the vacuum. And I took over the whole time thinking, why didn't she invite me to this party?
Oh my God. You weren't even the friend that was like, no, I have homework. Oh
she
my
didn't
God.
invite me, but called me to make it all better. And the only way she got caught was because I dragged all the garbage and the cans to my house for the garbage man the next day. And her parents saw all these bags of garbage outside my house. And they thought, Mandy was alone this weekend. Why would Mandy have taken out 4 bags of garbage? And they looked and saw it, and then she got caught.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. All right.
And what did she go to Ivy? Whatever, is that what that?
She's still there.
Go to the Ivy.
She's still there. Yeah, Ivy Ridge.
Ivy Ridge.
I went to second base with Lyle Massey in the teacher's lounge during school hours.
Okay, wait. Which is second base?
The shirt.
It all gets blurred.
Up top.
Oh, the shirt. During school hours. Oh boy, that's a hard one. Hey, that's what she said. I don't know about that. No.
Too prude. I was too prude.
It's very specific. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very specific. So you got me with the specifics, but I was like, I don't know about that.
I hate that you're 3 for 3. Let's just say that. I hate it. Okay. I typed up my own report card so my mom wouldn't see I failed home economics.
First of all, I resent that you failed home economics because you are a lovely homemaker.
Thank you.
Yes, you cook well. You have a nice, clean home.
Thank you.
You seem ironed and buttoned up. Very nicely done. Your decorating skills are on point.
I know how to write a check. That's what I remember about home economics.
I think that's true. I think you did type up your own report card.
That is absolutely true.
Wait, did you really fail home economics?
Yeah.
That's
not
really
according to Helene.
Kidding.
Helene thinks I got to be minus.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't see you failing anything. Did you just not show up to class?
That's exactly what I did.
Where did you go instead?
Home to watch soap operas.
Oh, you are so cute.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Why did you never end up as a writer on a soap opera? You would
I would love that. They're dead, but I would love that. At Mandy _Kaplan_Clavens if you have a job on a soap opera. Okay. My car got towed twice because I kept parking it in the teacher's lot.
No.
But I did get kicked off of campus in college for parking tickets. Too many parking tickets. My car wasn't allowed back on campus.
Okay, now let me ask you.
Yeah.
Were those defiant parking tickets or was it just like my brain, which is like, that sign doesn't make sense. I thought it was okay to park here.
My memory is that it was so freaking cold in Ithaca, New York that I was like, I don't care. I just have to park close to the building. And I would just ignore the rules. And sometimes you get away with it and then you get too confident and you get caught.
Quick side story.
Yeah.
When we arrived home from London, it was like 10 degrees colder. It was so cold and rainy and I was freezing outside. I got into the Uber and I think we must have left my suitcase and it got stolen. It got ransacked and some guy who had a 3-hour layover was like, hey, I was just walking around LAX having a cigarette and your suitcase is open in the stairwell and all your shit's everywhere. And I wanted to let you know. And so I had to go back down, jet lagged, like 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, back down to LAX to go get my suitcase. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Was stuff stolen?
It sucked. You know what's weird? I don't think anything was because I don't think there was anything of value.
Yeah.
I thought stuff was stolen and then I looked in the other suitcase because, we were gone for a long time. I had a few. And I was like, oh no, my toiletries, my jewelry, everything.
Wow.
They didn't get anything, but they just ripped it all apart and screwed
I'm so
my stuff
sorry.
everywhere.
That's violating.
Yeah. It was violating, but it was a lot worse when I thought they got my rings.
Right.
I thought they had gotten the only things I cared about, which is what I took.
Right.
Anyway. I don't know. Yeah. So good story. But it was because I was cold. I didn't do my diligence. I'm saying you'll act like a crazy person when you're cold. That was the connection.
Gotcha. Yeah. You'll break the rules.
Yeah.
When a few friends and I drained all of Michelle Matarazzo's parents' liquor, we refilled the bottles with water and food coloring.
What kind of food coloring? Do they all drink absinthe? You just had green absinthe in all of it? Food coloring. Maybe like brown? Like to make it look brown? I believe the water part. Well, sure. I'll say yes.
No.
I believe that. Yeah.
No.
Okay. All right.
I didn't drink in high school. I had 3 peach wine coolers in high school.
Well, I don't think I really heard what you were saying because I was shame spiraling about the suitcase story.
Okay.
But I didn't hear the part that you drank it and then replaced it. I was kind of going on the previous, I helped a friend because she drank it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Blame the
But even
question.
so, I got it wrong. No. Wasn't you. It was me. It was me. But I need to listen more carefully, and I will.
All right. And I used to sneak out in the middle of the night all the time.
Why? What are you sneaking out for? I mean, I believe that you would have. That is a level of sneak out that I'll say yes just so I can find out what you might have been sneaking out for, but I don't think what were you doing?
I don't even remember what I was doing, but I remember the feeling of sneaking out, like the closing the door so quietly. And I always left a note for my mom so that she wouldn't worry. And I would say, this is where I'm going and I'm safe and I'm sorry I did this. And she never saw the note because she never caught me.
Oh my God. I didn't do a lot of sneaking out. I did some sneaking back in because one time, can I tell you a story?
Yes, of course.
This is terrible.
That's what we're here for.
This is terrible. I think I was 19, so I was in college, but I was home working a summer job thing. Had way, way too many margaritas. Came home, and I guess I went to the downstairs bathroom, and I guess I sort of fell asleep on the toilet floor because I think maybe I thought I was going to be sick, and I'm still in my waiting tables closed, passed out in my downstairs bathroom.
Yeah.
And I hear my mom get up and come down and go into the kitchen. It's like a Saturday morning, right? And I know she's going to start doing chores, that bitch, because it was Saturday and we cleaned the house on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I get up and sneak out through the living room and up the stairs and hope she doesn't hear me because I was asleep on the bathroom floor. She's going to know that I was like hungover and wasted. And and so I get up and I change and I get into bed and I'm like, oh God. And not 25 minutes later, there's a knock on the door. Time to start cleaning that house.
Right.
Dying.
Yeah.
So hungover.
Right. But she didn't know.
Either she didn't know or she didn't say anything. How could you not know? I must have smelled like Patron.
Yeah.
Like the mob boss himself.
Oh, you were drinking the good stuff when you were.
I was. Yeah. I don't know. It was the margarita machine from Trudy's Mexican restaurant. I dated the bartender there. I don't want to brag.
Hot. That is so hot. If you're listening, bartender, I'd like to hear what kind. Was that well liquor? I need to know.
Well, and he was like 35, so it was like extra hot.
See, you were
and he was a smoker.
You were a bad kid in high school. I've heard stories. You were doing things I wouldn't have dreamed of. So don't you play Miss Innocent with me. Just because they resulted in lifelong trauma doesn't make them not entertaining.
I know, right? Look at that documentary we saw.
Yes. All right. You did exceedingly well on my quiz.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
Thank you for knowing me so well. What am I watching for next week?
Oh, I'm so excited what you're going to watch. It's going to be great. You're going to want to watch it because it's my favorite new thing ever. We are going to watch, I haven't seen any of it yet, The Magic Prank Show with our boyfriend, Justin Willman.
I love it. Oh,
I can't imagine anything happier or better, but that's what we're going to watch.
I think it's called The Mandys Prank Show.
God damn, you're good.
I am. I'm back. All right.
God damn.
Well,
or Justin Will Mandy. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
There's that too. All right. Well, I love you.
I love you.
Good to be back in the right time zone. And I'll see you next week.
Okay.